What is up, My Hero fam? Pat here, back with another deck profile, and in this one we're going to be talking about my favorite character in My Hero Academia, and that is the boy himself, Izuku Midoriya, aka Deku. This is the second version of him, the one that was printed in Crimson Rampage. I knew coming into this set that I needed to have a Deku deck to play when I got tired of playing Momo, so yeah, really was super stoked to play this leader. Had a lot of success with him initially in my testing, but he was having some issues playing against Mineta, and I just felt like the deck wasn't fast enough to keep up with the amount of spam and clogging that Mineta actually has access to. Because once the game goes really long into those like 4th, 5th turns, for example, it becomes a lot more difficult to actually deal damage to Mineta. So I was really looking for something to make the deck pop, really make the deck kind of like flow, so to speak. And I remembered that Shane Duckworth had said on the Facebook group that he had also been playing Midoriya, and he's the only other person I knew that was playing it. So I reached out to him and we kind of talked and collabed a little bit to try to make the deck like really pop, figure out what was missing. And he actually, gave me some really solid advice. So I wanted to give a shout out to him because some of the little tech pieces that he put into this deck really made it pop and really made it kind of stand out. And since then, it's just been an absolute monster. If you've seen Mr. Bromley's wonderful Punch Planet video talking about Ojiro where you're just throwing big punches, that's this deck. But this deck is essentially got the speed power up from a Sonic the Hedgehog game. This deck goes real fast, real hard. So this is kind of like the reverse of Deku 1. Deku 1 is a mid-range / control deck. This is an aggro deck that can pivot to mid-range. I have killed a lot of 7-handers with this character on turn 2. And I have also killed characters from full health on turn 3. Last night I played against an Endeavor, and I literally took him from full health to 0 in 1 turn. So yeah, deck has serious firepower and can go very fast. So let's get into it. It is Izuku Midoriya 2 from Crimson Rampage. He has a 6 hand size with 29 health. He is got Earth, Good, and Life as his symbols. This deck profile will be on the Good symbol, obviously for cards like Passing the Torch, which will come into play and will make sense when we talk about this enhance. Enhance, discard 1 card. Your punch attack gets +1 speed and +3 damage. That doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're giving every single attack in your deck +1 speed, +3 damage, eventually the dam will break. They won't be able to block everything. And considering how many attacks that this deck can string together, even getting through for like 7 damage, like 2 or 3 times, that adds up. You can absolutely just annihilate somebody. It also has response once per turn. Commit 1 foundation. After you check a copy of a foundation that is in your stage, build the checked foundation. So that foundation comes into play ready immediately. So if you check something you already have, you can commit 1 and get it ready right away. So even if you check the one that you already have, there's no reason really not to do it if it actually happens. Do keep in mind that based on the universe's rules, you can commit 1 foundation to do that. Your character can be used to pay the commit foundation cost. So on your opponent's turn, for example, if you check a foundation that you would like to have 2 copies of, you can commit Midoriya himself because you're not really going to be using this enhance outside of one specific scenario that we'll talk about in a little bit. So you can just commit him to get that foundation. So do keep that in mind. So yeah, now that we understand the character, let's talk about packages in the deck. As always, these packages are kind of to like let you get an understanding, a flow of how the deck is supposed to play. So the first package here is our mandatory package, and then we will have our draw power package, and then we have the rest of the attacks here, and then finally the rest of the foundations. So let's talk about this mandatory package first. This is kind of like the mandatory combo, the combo you're trying to open or have in your opening hand at the start of every single game, and that is 4 Pull No Punches as well as 4 Celebrity Status. I think that starting off on turn 1 building Pull No Punches is huge. It allows a lot of stuff to go on in the deck. It really makes the deck pop, so to speak. So if you don't know, Pull No Punches is a 3 difficulty with a 5 check with a +2 high block. It has Enhance, Destroy It, add 1 punch attack from your card pool to your momentum. It also has a deadlock enhance of your punch attack gets +2 speed and gains stun 1. So obviously a great deadlock threat if you somehow take the game long enough against a control deck. Giving the 2 speed and stun 1 in addition to the 1 speed from Midoriya himself makes it so it's very easy to push through a lot of damage if the game somehow goes that far. But the main reason we're playing it is for that enhance to get a punch out of our card pool and put it into our momentum so that we can combo it here with this card, Celebrity Status. It is a 1 difficulty for a 5 check with a +2 mid block. It has enhance, flip, add 1 card from your momentum to the top of your deck. So it should be pretty obvious that we're going to be cracking our pull no punches to put a punch from our card pool into our momentum. And therefore we can flip this and put it on top of our deck. So that brings us to the cards in our deck that draw, and they're primarily there so that we can redraw our attack. You're going to play a first attack, and then on the second attack, we're going to pull no punches, eat the first attack in the card pool, and then draw it with one of these cards that is in this section. So the first and most obvious draw card here is going to be Back Alley Haymaker. This card is absolutely insane if you've never played with it. It is a 5 difficulty with a 3 check. It has a +2 high block. It is a 4 speed mid, 4/5 damage. It is a charge punch with EX2, so it is a momentum dump, and also stun 2. So it's really like a 6 speed for 5 damage on a 5 diff, which is a really, really good rate, right? And then when you factor in the fact that it's going to be with Midoriya enhance, it's really like a 7 speed for 8 damage. That is kind of crazy. But if that wasn't enough, it has enhance, draw 1 card, or build 1 foundation with a printed difficulty of 0 from your discard pile. That foundation, by the way, comes in ready. So if you need more play extension, you have a ton of cards in your hand, this card will actually allow you to keep your plays going. But yeah, stun 2 on this on turn 2 when they built 4 makes it kind of difficult to block. And then if you put the Midoriya enhance behind it, it does mean that they're probably going to have to put some kind of resources behind it to be able to block it. So now if you have built the combo, and I'll refer to it from henceforth as the combo. So if you've built the combo on the first turn, you can essentially Back Alley Haymaker them, stun them 2, they block it, that's fine. You play a second Back Alley Haymaker, stun them out, then you crack pull no punches, send this to your momentum, flip your Celebrity Status, put this on top of your deck, draw it with Back Alley Haymaker, and then play a second Haymaker. And at this point, because the second one stunned them out, probably not blocking this on turn 2, which means you should absolutely dump cards behind it to make it 8 damage. So this would be 8. This is going to come down, same thing. The card that you're going to be pitching for Midoriya, you're just going to replace it off the second Back Alley. Cool, here's another 8. So we're up to 16 damage for the most part on turn 2 off of just if you open 2 Back Alley Haymakers and 1 of each of these in your first 2 turns. So yeah, really, really insane card. Probably the best attack in the entire deck. Next up, we have One for All Full Cowling 5% Strike. It has got 5 difficulty, 3 check with a +1 low block. It is a 4 speed high, 4/6 damage. Obviously, it is a punch. It has enhance, discard your hand to draw 3 cards. And then also enhance, if this attack is not blocked, you commit your rival's character. So obviously that second enhance is really good against certain characters that require their character to play good defense, like Mineta 2, for example, like Momo, like Nomu. These characters have to block this attack. And you obviously just use Midoriya's enhance to pump it to a 5 speed high for 9 damage before you pitch your whole hand and draw 3 cards. So yeah, this is another one that you can use. You could open something like Back Alley Haymaker and then use Full Cowling Strike as your second attack. Use the combo again to set it up, and then pitch your whole hand, and then draw another Back Alley. And then the Back Alley itself will keep you at 3 cards, in addition to other cards like Passing the Torch that you may have. So just a really strong attack overall. And again, it will draw us cards, and it's just a beefy attack, man. This is 9 damage. 9 damage if they don't block this. Next up is a card that really, really makes the deck kind of run, and that is Future Charge. It is a 4 difficulty with a 3 check with a +2 high block. It is a 3 mid for 4 damage. It is a charge punch. Enhance, draw 1 card for each copy of Future Charge in your card pool. This one is pretty self-explanatory. You use it as the second attack with the combo to use the Future Charge draw to draw that card and essentially get your attack back again. However, if you have multiple of these, you can draw a lot of cards. So if you have multiple pull no punches that can keep clearing the card pool, even if you don't have Celebrity Status, you can essentially just You know, here's a future charge. I draw 1. Here's another future charge. I'll draw 2. And then you, after you've drawn, you crack this. Oh, I drew, say, another full cowling. Let's keep going. Or like, oh, I somehow drew another future charge. Let's just draw more cards. If you have all 4 of them in the pool, that is 10 cards. 1, 3, 6, 10. I've never lived the dream of drawing all 10 cards yet, but I absolutely multiple times have lived the dream of drawing 6. This card just draws so many cards. It lets you see so many attacks. You can really just have tons of extra ammunition because of this card, because it's going to make you have like 6, 7 cards in your hand after you've already played 2 attacks, and you're just going to be like, all right, well, I can just bin them to Deku for free advantage. Card just is a workhorse in the deck, and it's one of the main things that really allows you to pop and go super fast. Another card that is really good and should be a 4-of in every Midoriya 2 list. There's no reason not to play this card as a 4-of in every single one of your Midoriya lists going forward, is Any Means Necessary. It is a 2 difficulty for a 5 check with a +5 mid block. The +5 mid block is deceptively scary. It's kind of like a, hey, don't play this outside of Midoriya 2 and Tetsu, because that's a really rough number, right? A lot of people look at this number and go, nah, I just, that block is horrible. I never want to play it. Well, that block never comes into play, right? It has an enhance if you're life. Commit your character if you have no cards in your hand. This attack gets +1 speed and +3 damage. Cool. You're never building this foundation. You're never going to use that enhance. The main reason to play it is this response here. After you discard this card during the enhance step, you draw 1 card. So, obviously, you use Midoriya's enhance to give your punch +1 speed and +3 damage, and then respond and draw a card off of Any Means Necessary. So, you're like, all right, cool. So, this is just basically a free activation of Midoriya whenever it's in your hand. However, because of how Universes works as a game, you can fail abilities, which means that if this card is just chilling on your turn, on their turn right there, I'm sorry, when you're playing defense, they can attack you. You can ditch this card to give your punch +1 speed and +3 damage on their turn. Well, it's not, you don't have a punch, so you failed the ability, but the cost was discarding it. It was still discarded, so you get to draw a new card. So this card is a free activation on offense, and if for some reason you just didn't draw any attacks on your turn, you can just hold it on defense and wait and see. And if you somehow just don't have the correct block zone, cycle it away. Get a new card and see if you can block it then, and before expending other things like maybe passing the torch if you just don't have a lot of foundations open. So yeah, really insanely good foundation, and I think it should be a 4-of in every single Midoriya 2 list. Next up is Destined for Mainstream Success. It is a 1 difficulty 5 check, +2 mid block. Enhance, flip, name a card type. If the revealed cards, then reveal the top card of your deck, I'm sorry. If the revealed card is actually the named type, then you get to draw it. So, yeah, so I bungled that explanation, but you guys have probably seen this one enough. It's just another way to potentially draw cards. If you've done the combo, it is basically a guaranteed way to draw that attack once again if you're on an attack that cannot draw, for example. Otherwise, you can just call attack every time, and you'll either draw an attack, which means cool, more aggro. Otherwise, you will literally just have a good check, because it will be a foundation or an action on top of your deck. So yeah, really good card overall. You probably, again, have seen it a ton if you've been playing since set 1. It's just an incredibly rock solid foundation. And then speaking of rock solid foundations, here is Passing the Torch, 2 difficulty 5 check, +3 mid block. Enhance, commit it, draw a card. If you have no cards in your hand, draw 2 cards instead. Obviously just really good because it fuels Midoriya and his ability. And if you've just pitched your entire hand off your first 3 attacks, this allows you to dig for more cards to either keep going or to play good defense. So you need it. It's the main reason really for us to be on good. You could, I guess, go on life, but you just sacrifice too many punches. That's the main reason we're on good, is so that we have access to this card. So let's talk about the rest of the attacks in the actual deck here. So we have 2 copies of Tetsu Fist, 5 difficulty for a 3 check with a +1 high block, which we really like. And it is a 4 mid, 4/5 damage. It is a punch with powerful 3. So this is a finisher, right? It has a lot of power behind this. If you somehow have a bunch of momentum and you haven't really been drawing the cards with the combo, this can definitely function as a finisher. And it's pretty fast because it has this enhance. If you've discarded a card during this combat phase, this attack gets +2 speed. So basically, you play Tetsu Fist, and then you pitch a card from Midoriya and make it a 5 mid for 8 damage, and then because you've discarded a card, it actually becomes a 7 mid for 8 damage. Oh, they can't block it? Cool. I'll put 2 momentum behind it and make it a 14 damage punch. This move can absolutely just come out of nowhere and just close a game. Like, again, Midoriya just hits really, really fast. This is basically, again, a baseline 7 mid for 8 damage, which is great as your like second or third attack in a turn, because it's so hard to block at that point for being that fast unless they have a speed reset. So yeah, really, really sick attack. I originally played this card at 4 because I just thought it was so nuts, but it's really only good at closing out a game on turn like 3 or later. So at 4x, I just ended up having hands where I would see like 1 or 2 copies on turn 2, and I really don't think you want to be playing this on turn 2. You really want to be playing this on turn 3 when it is much more lethal. You have more resources available to you. Next up, we have a kind of like a countdown setup here of 3, 2, 1 on the attacks. We'll start with the setup strike here. First at 3x, it is a 4 difficulty, a 3 check plus 2 mid block. It is a 3 speed high for 5 damage. Obviously, it is a punch. Enhanced, discard 1 momentum. This attack gets plus 3 speed. So if you combine the fact that this has the momentum pump, making it a 6 for 5, with Deku, it becomes a 7 for 8, which is very similar to Tetsu Fist. So this card is going to basically be a 7 for 8 if you're willing to spend the momentum in the card. For 4 diff, that's insane value. And then it has an enhance, your next attack gets plus 3 speed. So you can use this as an opener and be like, hey, the next one is going to be a lot scarier than this. Again, it's going to come in at 3 extra speed from setup strike and 1 extra from Midoriya. So whatever you throw is going to come in at 4 faster. Even a pair of setup strikes with 1 momentum can be absolutely dangerous, because this one could be a 4 high for 8. All right, cool, that's fine. You blocked it. This one comes in at 3 speed. You can make it, again, 7 for 8, or you can make it a 10 for 8. And then if you pump it with any other stuff in the deck, then yeah, really, really sick attack. You guys probably already know from, again, set 1, if you watched Midoriya's deck profile from Deku 1, you already know how good this card is. We don't really want it as a 4 of, because it's not a 4 of attack, right? Like, the 4 of attacks in this deck are things like Back Alley Haymaker, because it's drawing us cards, and it's just ridiculous. Or Future Charge, because it's drawing us cards. This card is not drawing us cards, and we wanted to keep the deck a bit leaner, closer towards 50 cards, so that's why it is here at 3. The second card to talk about here is Velocity Punch. It is a 4 difficulty for a 3 check with a horrendous plus 3 low block. It is a 4 speed low for 4 damage. It is a punch attack. It has enhance, add 1 foundation from your stage to your momentum. So this is here primarily for 2 reasons. One, it is to give us extra momentum for something like Tetsu Fist to set up for it as a kill shot if our opponent is starting to get low on resources. It's also very, very important for the action that we have in the deck. It is basically a way to guarantee that if our opponent has just been playing insanely good defense, that we have at least some way to get a card into our momentum that is not just part of the combo from pull no punches. So this is just another way for us to guarantee get momentum, and that is why we are using it. It's also a low, which is pretty spiffy. So a 5 speed low for 7 damage is actually still a fairly solid attack. So that's why this card made it in here. And then finally, for the one of fun of attack here in the deck, we have a full power clash. It is a 4 difficulty 3 check, 3 mid for 3 damage plus 1 mid block here. It is a Fury Punch with powerful 2, so it can function as a finisher. It has enhanced, choose one of your foundations. This attack gets plus 1 speed and plus 1 damage for each copy of that foundation in your stage. You'll always have at least 1 copy of one of your foundations, unless you just for some reason have no foundations left. So this is really a 4 mid for 4. When you factor in the fact that Deku's ability comes into it, it's going to be a 5 mid for 7 damage, which is a respectable rate. The reason it has a 1 of is because we don't really want to see this card all the time, but on turn like 3, when you've resolved Deku's ability maybe once or maybe twice based on how things have gone, you might have 3 copies of a foundation, in which case this thing comes in as a 6 for 6, and then you pump it and it becomes a 7 for 9, which is essentially a finisher, and then you can pump more momentum into it for powerful. So it's just like a card that gets better the longer the game goes, and traditionally in card games, having a singleton copy of a card means that you're not really going to see it until like the very late turns of the game, unless you just don't see it at all. So yeah, it's pretty much perfect as a 1-up, because again, the deck is pretty much trying to kill you on turn 2 or turn 3. So if it goes longer, this attack can get pretty beefy out of nowhere. So that's why it's here as a 1-up. Let's talk now about the rest of the cards in the deck. 4 copies of It Can't Be Fixed. It is a 0 diff for 5 check, +1 high block, which we always value. Response flip. After you commit any number of your cards due to your rival's effects, you get to essentially build the top card of your deck. It's playable while committed. It's just stun hate. You need stun hate in this format, and it's pretty much the best one because it's basically a free card with a +1 high block. Next up, we have 4 Self-Sacrifice. It is a 1 diff for a 5 check with a +1 low block. Enhance, destroy 1 foundation. This attack gets +1 or -1 damage. Just useful for A, keeping you out of deadlock, and B, just forcing through more damage for game. If you have like 2 of these built and your opponent is just like at 9 life and your punch is at 7, cool, just eat your stage if you don't think they can actually deal with it, and just kill them. It's obviously also a really excellent block. Note taking. It is a 1 difficulty for a 5 check, +2 low block. Enhance, flip. Your punch gets +2 speed. Well, with Midoriya, we get 1 speed. We get 2 from this. If it's like Tetsu Fist, which also gets speed for discarding a card, you can make it a 9 speed for 8 damage. That's pretty insane. So yeah, the role of this is pretty obvious. You just use it to force through damage that you just don't think your opponent has the resources to block. 4 copies of Taiyaki Fanatic. It is a 2 difficulty for a 5 check with a +3 mid block, which isn't super good. It has response destroy. After your rival plays an enhance ability on an asset or a foundation, cancel it. So obviously, if your opponent's trying to wall cling for a partial or something, because the attack is basically lethal, you just go, okay, cool, actually no. Like, this is just the no card. Like, if they're trying to play some kind of defensive ability on a foundation to survive, just know it. Just get rid of it. You can play a very compact game. You can kill people between 3 and 5 foundations. You can just aggressively use this to stop their defensive abilities. Do note that it's enhanced, so it doesn't stop something like Specialist of Sound that can still wreck you, but there are a lot of cards, again, like your wall clings, like your -2 speeds, or something that they're going to give you from, like, say, the Ice Gliding card that's new, that's being played a lot. You can just, again, nope it. Creepy Realization, just nope it. Whatever you need, whatever's going to stop them from trying to reduce the damage going through, you can, again, just nope it on this card. It also has a Deadlock Enhance. Destroy it. Your rival discards 1 card from their hand. So, again, this deck has really powerful deadlock threats with 4 copies of these and 4 copies of Pull No Punches. Your opponent's really never going to want to go into deadlock against you when you're packing such powerful deadlock hate. And then the last card in the deck, which I probably should have mentioned earlier, is this action, Capture Evildoers, which really, again, makes this deck pop. It is a action with a 2 difficulty, 5 check with a +1 mid block, and it has Breaker 1, so really solid block, so you don't mind having these actually in your hand. It has Enhance, remove 1 rival momentum. If you did, you add the top card of your deck to your momentum, then you remove this card from the game. So this first enhance is primarily for Mineta 2. The deck functions in a way that it needs momentum to be used as a second hand, so you can just eat their momentum and then get momentum yourself for the EX2s on your back alley haymakers or your powerful 3s on your Tetsu Fist. So that's really nice, but the main reason to play the card is the form. Discard 1 momentum, discard up to 3 cards from your card pool. So if we go back to what we were talking about with, say, the future charges and things like that, and the back alley haymakers, you can have a hand where potentially you have like a back alley haymaker, and then you play like a future charge, right? You crack the Pull No Punches on this, and it goes to your momentum. You draw it here. You play another back alley haymaker here. Cool. You stun them out. Then you just play one of these Capture Evildoers with another momentum if you actually have it. Clear your card pool, and then you just start going like, oh yeah, here's like a full cowling. Oh, I draw a new grip. Oh, here's another future charge. I'm just going to keep going. So that's pretty much what it's there for. If the Mineta player is going to want to clog your card pool after your first attack, cool. Just Capture Evildoers, clear the card pool, start anew, and just keep pushing through damage. It basically is just play extension. You guys, if you've ever seen All Might 3, his deck functions very much the same way. Like, you're just playing good attacks that are reasonably statted, that draw cards. If my opponent's going to clog it, cool, I'm just going to clear, essentially getting extra turn without the draw step, and then just keep going with more cards. You draw so many cards in this deck with things like Passing the Torch, Haymaker, Future Charge, Destined for Mainstream Success, that, again, this card is just really, really nuts. I main 2 right now, might bump it up to 3 in the future if I feel I need it. Not every match you need it in, so you definitely side 2. Like, if you're playing against Mineta, you bring in the other 2 copies, and therefore his card pull clog isn't really super impactful against you, because you can just use the duplicate copies of Capture Evildoers to get the momentum, or again, you can use your pull no punches to actually just get the momentum so that you can fire off the form and keep going. Obviously, yes, you will draw 1 less attack, but it does allow you to essentially wipe the slate and keep going. He is a 5-hander at the end of the day, and he isn't going to be drawing as many cards as this deck is. So yeah, that is the Midoriya deck in a nutshell. Hopefully this was super helpful for you and explains kind of his overall game plan and how the deck functions and what we're trying to do. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below if there's something I missed or there's another character you want to see. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your week, and I'll catch you all later. Bye-bye now.